everybody. Thank you for tuning into the lessons. I hope you've been learning a lot and you've been studying hard. And I hope you've been checking out some of the lessons in the single string course as well, because they go very much hand in hand with the rhythm guitar lessons that we're studying. So try to go back and forth between the rhythm guitar and the single string, and you'll really be in line with both of the courses that we're studying. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you today about a number of things involving harmony and the reasons and the logic behind the chords and the structures of chords we're learning. And so we have to discuss a little bit of harmony concepts to make this clear, so I can then proceed forward with that knowledge that you guys out there know what I'm talking about. Okay, so you'll often hear me talk about the chords being major or minor, okay? And I want to bring out a board that I wrote on, and I put some information on it that I want to show you. Okay, so let's take a look at this if we could. Now you'll see right over here I have a major scale, and as you've learned in the previous single string lessons, a major scale sounds like this, and the major scale is the basis for all Western music and all songs and harmony that we build. We basically build it around the concept of major scale. So here's what a major scale sounds like. I'm sure you've heard it. That's just a very fundamental, basic scale that is the building blocks of all harmony and all music, pretty much all around the world. Okay? So I just played the C major scale. It's an 8-note scale, and I'm hitting the octave on the top. Okay? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, te, di is the scale. Okay? Now, what do you do with a scale to get harmony? How is it that a scale like this becomes a system of chords and harmony? Well, it's quite clever, actually. If you look at the scale and you see what happens, or examine what happens if you take every other note and you stack on top of each other, right? You're going to see that we create some structures of chords. When I took the C and I stacked the E on top of the C as well as the G on top of the C, we get this structure right here. So we get these three notes together by stacking the first note, the third note, and the fifth note on top of each other, and they become this C structure, okay? And I'm calling it a C structure because the bottom note is the root, and that's C, and the notes above create the upper harmony of the triad. Triad meaning 3 notes, triad, 3 tones. Okay? What would happen if we take the same concept, stacking every other note on top of every other note, with the second degree of the scale? Okay? So if we take the D and we stack the F and the A on top of it, we achieve this sound, and it becomes this structure. Okay? Now listen to the difference in quality. Here's what we had on the first structure. We had, okay, nice sound, but listen to this. Now, I don't know if you noticed it, but there's a different quality to this sound versus this sound. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay? But the idea now is that you keep doing that. You keep stacking every other note on top of every other note, and you get a system of 7 chords right here that become the harmony of the key. Okay? So in other words, they become the chords of the key. So these chords are all diatonic to the key of C major. These chords right here are all part of the family of C major. Okay, they are within the family of C major. And what you'll notice as you go through and analyze what happens after stacking all these notes together, you get a system of chords, and some of the chords share the same characteristic of the other chords. So, for example, the chord that you have on the first chord, the fourth chord, and the fifth chord all sound like this. And what is that I'm referring to? Well, they sound like a major chord, called major because they have the sound of the roots and a major third, which is essentially two whole steps between the root and the third, and a perfect fifth. Right here is a perfect fifth. And so a major quality chord is described as roots, major third, perfect fifth. And the 4 chord has the same relationship, a major third and a perfect fifth. And so does the 5 chord. They all share the same color of interval. They all have the same interval relationship, roots, major third, and perfect fifth. Now compare that with the chords that occur on the 2nd degree, the 3rd degree, and the 6th degree of the scale, and you'll hear a difference. Here's the 2nd degree chord. Okay, now, what kind of third do we have here? It's the 3rd note from the root D, but it's a step and a half, not 2 steps. Okay, so that's a different kind of third. This is called a minor third. Okay, this is a major third when you have 2 whole steps between the first interval and the 2nd interval. But this is a minor third. Okay, and you can hear there's a distinctly different flavor to that color. This is a darker kind of sound versus a major quality, which would sound like this. Okay, so that's the kind of quality that happens when you harmonize a major scale on the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 6th degree of the tones. So that's D minor, E minor, and A minor. And they're all minor chords. The 1, 4, and 5 are all major, and the 2, 3, and 6 are all minor. Okay? And then you get a really unique chord here on the last chord that we haven't discussed, the 7th chord. If you go up to the 7th chord and you play these notes that we've got here, you'll see this also has a minor third relationship, just like the other minor chords did. But interesting, the 5th is not a perfect 5th relationship between the roots and the 5th, but a diminished 5th. Okay, meaning it's the perfect interval that's reduced by half step is called diminished, not minor. Okay, so that distinguishes this chord uniquely from the other chords because this is the only chord in the harmonized scale that has a root, a minor third, and a diminished 5th. Okay, it's the only one like it in the key. Okay. Another thing I should point out is these chords are all triads. Okay. Triads, 3 notes, 3-note chords. Okay. So what we've been playing in all of our rhythm guitar chords that we've been working on are all triad chords. Okay. When I showed you these first chords, the very first lesson, whether it was a major or a minor, they're all triads. Okay. Now, I suppose you're wondering if there's only 3 tones, why am I playing 6 notes here? And that's easy enough to understand like this. It's only got 3 tones, but there might be duplicates of the same tone. So you remember this E chord actually had 1, 2, 3 of the same roots. There's duplications of the same tone, but there's only roots, thirds, and fifths in this chord. In this case, there's 1 fifth. Actually, there's 2 fifths, there's 2 Bs, and there's only 1 third, and there's 3 roots. So in terms of the types of tones, this is still a triad. It's just duplicated with extra roots and an extra 2 fifths. Okay, but just 3 tones in that chord. Okay, so a triad, like I said before, could be 3 notes in its basic form, or it could be a full chord like that. It's still an E triad either way. Okay, so these are the building blocks of harmony, and every song and every chord progression has something to do with the concepts of major scale harmony. So it's important to understand this so we can proceed forward and use this as our reference for other kinds of chords and progressions. Okay? So I want you to take a look. Maybe it'd be a good idea for you guys at home to buy or maybe check out at the library or something some basic beginning music theory book, because the subject and the information that you would get out of a theory book will help you also understand a lot of the concepts of harmony and consequently chords and rhythm guitar from that theory book. So maybe you should look into that. Okay, I'll talk to you in a second. We're going to get to a progression in just a minute.